Hello, once again, I'm BR Schultz, SP500, where I do my best to forecast the ups and downs of the S&P 500 as we journey through the roaring 20s to the last macro peak in late September of 2030 with a target of 10,347 on the S&P 500. Was hoping for a crash low sometime in the first week in August, and it wasn't looking like it wanted to materialize, but yet here we go. They've done their window dressing for the end of the month the best they can, and someone was telling me that markets are going to do great today because Microsoft and Meta beat their earnings, and my first response was that's window dressing. It's not going to end well, because there's supposed to be this massive spike in the VIX in the first week of August, according to some of my models. And so here we are. Markets are down pretty big tonight, but we've got a long way to go. The optimal bottom, I would say, would be about 59.50 around August the 8th. And I want to show you the purple wave model today for August the 8th. And so the crash does look like it's underway. This is it. This is the window, right? It has to show up here or it's not going to show up at all. And so, yeah, here we go. So let's see what happens. Let's see if we can lose that 7%, right? That 7.5% that I was trying to predict would occur in around the first week in August. And I think that was before Trump even came out and announced his August 1st tariff dates. My model was already projecting that, so I want to show you that as well today. We've got about 62 months before Jerome Powell's Great Depression begins. He is doing his best to keep interest rates high to make it impossible for the average American to get out underneath their load of debt. And I'm sure he has internal borrowing instruments that he's making a pretty penny on, that he's using to build his Eiffel Tower there, his ivory tower for the Federal Reserve building. And so I'm guessing he's making a decent return on those whatever notes he has internally that he's lent out internally or loaned internally to America and its banks. So he has no desire to lower the interest rates because he is making that money to pay for his giant fortress and mansion at the Fed. So even though Americans are suffering and there's no reason really to keep interest rates high, Jerome Powell is going to make sure that this Great Depression comes and that no one's going to escape his Great Depression. So 62 months until Jerome Powell's Great Depression unfolds, and you can look at the previous video. I think that was part 16, where I've updated my monthly model, and that shows the final macro peak around Labor Day or Christmas of 2030. And then we should have some nice big red annual candles for 2031, 2032, and 2033. So you kind of get the 3 nights, if you will. Big red yearly candles for 2031, 2032, and 2033. And maybe 2034 starts off horribly into the end of Q1, and maybe we bottom around Q2, the beginning of Q2 in 2034. But not looking good. And that's all due, again, to Jerome Powell. He had almost 10 years to write the course of it, but he decided he was going to make sure that he destroys the S&P. Now, as you know, if you followed my work for any length of time, the Federal Reserve is not around to keep markets boosted up. It's actually created to destroy markets. That's right, I said to destroy markets. The Fed is there to create its own destruction and then build them back up. Basically, what it wants to do is control the forest fires, right? And then put them out itself, and kind of a, self-fulfilling need, right? And it can get out of hand, right? Because as soon as the Fed realizes it can grow the market and crush the market, the wrong person in power in the Fed can deliberately keep interest rates high for an extended long of time, or they can deliberately keep interest rates low and say inflation is transitory. But that would never happen with our Federal Reserve, especially Jerome Powell. His whole name, each one of the names in his each one of his names is 6 letters long. So it's literally, his name is the number 666. So I don't know, that's just me. It's kind of creepy. But anyways, I do not trust Jerome Powell. Before Trump was ever in office, I was saying Jerome Powell is an abject failure, and he's trying to lead to the demise of America, and it seems more and more that it truly is. It seems as the days go by, he has no reason to keep interest rates high, but he is proving, I think what a lot of people are starting to realize about him is he is a horrible Federal Reserve, and he's similar to Andrew Mellon. Their purpose is to bring about depressions and recessions in America, and that is their purpose. All right, so let's review some of the models going into the August 8th low. For a low, that would be an optimal bottom target of about 59.50. Thank you for joining me. Okay, so the first model I have up for you is that new method that I use for timing the bottoms. And it's primarily that blue line that I've numbered for you. It has really nice counts on it. It has really nice hits. And so that's going to take us out to roughly, again, that first week in August. So that, August 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th, targeting low around 59.50. Yeah, so this is the macro view, and I know you probably can't see it that well, or you could say, well, you may not have it synced just right, so could you show us a micro model? And that's what I'm going to do next. So, but this is kind of how I'm using my tools on a macro level. It's quite odd, but this kind of sawtooth model is one of the most precise macro models I have, believe it or not. It competes with some of the short-term models. So this is from a macro scale how I get to roughly that first week in August. And if you really want to go look at that VIX model that I created a couple presentations ago, look for the VIX model. I think it was like part 14 or something around there, predicting that there'd be a major peak on a macro level in the VIX in the first week in August. So you can go back and review that as well. So I think all these things are really aligning well. And so again, the major low could be as late as August 8th. Again, I'm looking for like a 5 to 7% decline, and optimal target would be down around 59.50. So let's move to the short-term model. Okay, so this is the short-term model, and I've been working on a different scale, obviously, for the MJ purple wave, and it has a beautiful 1, 2, 3, 4 count going out to roughly August the 8th. It was originally August the 6th. You can kind of see that purple wave around the 3 and the 4. It was a little bit higher, but you can see how the purple wave actually formed yet another notch around the 4. So originally was a 1, 2, 3 off that purple wave going into August 6th, but it looks like there was one last notch that the model was able to, the markets were able to throw in there at the last second and get us out to a August 8th low. So I expect the markets will crash to hit their final low again around that 59.50 area or into August the 8th. And the beautiful thing about this is this traces back to June 20th, and it traces back to July 16th on this purple wave type of methodology. Very nice, right? And also obviously ties out with the model or the bottoms you saw in the previous graph. So I know I understand some of you might say, well, if it wasn't broken, why'd you try to fix the purple wave? Well, I rescaled everything, so I've been spending some time trying to recalibrate that. And Burry, you're not gonna donate to me, bro, until if you survive the Great Depression into late 2033, early 2034, and you're sitting pretty, then you can donate. But you've donated so many times over the past years. Just please, I don't want your money, man. Just I want you to be safe. I want good things for you and your family. So speak with a financial professional when we get to late 2030. In my opinion, my humble opinion, I am not licensed. I'm not a professional. I just make graphs all day, right? I love Excel. I make a lot of graphs, and that's how I time the markets. Again, I'm not licensed in any way, shape, or form. So please, everything's subject to change, and you need to speak with a financial professional prior to making any investments. So, and hopefully I'm one of 3 to 5 individuals that you're listening to. So hopefully I can provide different views that others might not have. But it does seem that the crash has begun. Usually when I finally got in contact with my my British friend who used to time markets just using candles, and he kind of, he says when it terminates, the thing terminates, right? So when you see the cliff, you know that it's finally terminated, right? So it would seem that we're finally terminating. Yesterday we had that crash and then pop, right? into the earnings, and I think that's what created the crash here down to 59.50 from my perspective. So, anywho, then I'll look to go long probably around August 8th, and then once we crash, then everyone will believe that Jerome Powell is going to lower the interest rate, and and then we get to play that game again. But markets are going to crash here. Trump may have very well tried to force a crash by jacking up tariffs, because he's trying to force Jerome Powell into actually getting out of his bone-crushing high interest rates that he has no reason to be doing. So I think Trump is trying to put Jerome Powell in the spotlight for all of America and really put some heat for him. And so if Trump amps up the tariffs here going into August, not only can he crush markets, but then he forces the Fed to finally show their hand. Are they really going to lower interest rates if markets crash? Or is the Fed really committed to trying to destroy Americans, the middle class, into the final macro peak of markets into late 2030? That's the question. So again, I think Jerome Powell is not a great guy at all. I think he is purposefully trying to destroy the market. I think that's the banker's job at the end of the 30-year cycle, is to create the Great Depression, not try to get us out of it. That's so odd, but that's certainly what it looks like. And no Fed has been able to do it yet, right? We had Alan Greenspan in the 90s. He didn't do it. And Federal Reserve Jerome Powell, Mr. 666, is looking like he is going to do the exact same thing to America. And so my humble advice is to seek professional advice going into 2030. Pay down your debts. Try to get out of debt as much as possible. Live right now as if you've already lost your job. If you've already lost everything, live that way now for the next 5 years, so that you put your money where it needs to go before you don't have any money. That's how I'm trying to live. That's only my opinion, and I'm not a professional again. But that's just how I live. I always tell my wife we should live now like we've already lost our jobs, so that we don't spend too foolishly and wish we had a little extra money in the bank or whatever. And who knows how it's going to play out. Who knows if they're going to freeze bank accounts and not allow people to even spend their money, or only spend it certain ways and create a central currency and program it so you can't even pay more on your mortgage or anything like that. I have no clue what the future holds. But anywho, as we continue in the roaring 20s, the next major bottom in the market, I believe, will be August 8th. And I think, hopefully, we have a nice big crash into August 8th. So a nice 7.77% drop, as predicted a little while ago. I was hoping it would peak a little earlier, but we didn't. So I have to adjust my models a little bit. But we've already started. We hit almost 64.40 on the SP 500, and now we're at 63.40 as we close for the day on the futures, SPX 500 USD on tradingview.com. So we've already lost 100. So we just need to lose another 400 more points, and we're right there at the bottom. And then, I think we'll have another. If you go back and watch the VIX video, you'll see that I think there's another crash coming in October, and there should be some kind of macro peak near the end of the year, and then a secondary peak around February, I think. So you get that double top, and I think you get that crash sometime in March or April of 2026, when Jerome Powell finally leaves his office and his little death clutch over interest rates finally is broken. And then I believe that the Fed will be, whoever it is, will be lowering interest rates all the way into the end of 2030, and then that will bring on the Great Depression. So thank you for joining me today. And it's nice to finally see the market start to go the way that's been predicted for a long time, right? I've been predicting that there'd be this crash for over a month now or something. So nice to see it finally happening. The model predicted the 620 low, right? 623. And now that I'm getting the purple wave a little bit more aligned and things like that, it's easier for me to see the 7/16 low that occurred, and then obviously the August 8th low that's going to occur. And I can see something kind of going out to the middle of August on the top, on the bottom of the wave around July 2nd, and then the peaks in the wave around July 24th, 25th. So there should be some kind of bottom around mid-August. So it's kind of created this mid-month bottom, if you will. So I do see something kind of bottom out there too, but kind of have to take that in stride and maybe make another video maybe late next week, see if we're anywhere closer to the 59.50 mark, and then yeah, we'll go from there. Thank you for your time. Hopefully you're enjoying it, and hopefully you're preparing, or at least speaking with financial professionals about the Great Depression after the macro peak in markets at the end of the Roaring 20s in around Labor Day or Christmas of 2030. Thank you for joining me for part number 17 as Jerome Powell sets up the Great Depression. Thank you so much. Again, this is just a snippet of the GoFundMe page. I didn't want you to forget that, so thank you. And please bookmark it, whatever, and watch it over the next decade or into late 2034. Thank you so much.